one word tolls has enormous significance. So you would want your students to be able to recognise repetition and then do exactly what was demonstrated there. And that is about achieving the purpose, but it's also about analysing their effects. Especially this. When you hear that, it impacts us in some way. And that description aroused emotional responses in all of us. Even though we didn't know that it comes from the poem, and we may not know anything else about it, but once it's explained and described, we have that, there's that little bit of an epiphany. And that's where we want our students to go. And they will. Like, there's some students do some mind-altering stuff. To select, teach them to select and synthesise. That's something you'd want to look up. What does synthesise mean? It'll be in the back of the syllabus in your glossary. Subject matter. What is subject matter? That's the stuff in the text. So that's the subject matter in a poem. To support their perspectives. So how you're going to teach them to support their perspectives. You're probably going to do a lot of workshopping. You say what you think, and then you break it down and you workshop it. Objective 7, going to teach your students to organise and sequence their subject matter to achieve a particular purpose. So if it's a persuasive speech, you're going to have your introduction, a hook, your arguments, 3 arguments and your conclusion. You're going to teach them to sequence. You're not going to get them to throw their conclusion at the start or in the middle. You're going to teach them to be purposeful. You might get them to start their persuasive speech with a dramatic quote or rhetorical question, because you want to show them how they can achieve their purpose of persuading the audience in a particular way. Objective 8, you're going to teach your students to use cohesive devices to emphasise ideas and connect parts of text. Oh wow! That takes a bit of energy. Subordinating conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions, simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and so on. Objective 9, make language choices for particular purposes and context. So if it's an analytical essay, what's a sophisticated language in the third person? If it's a monologue, oh, woe is me, I couldn't stand the way he did that to me that day, made me really angry. So you can see that there's different purposes and different contexts. Use language and grammar structures for particular purposes. So you can see some actual overlapping in some of these objectives too. They're not necessarily discrete. Objective 11, using mode appropriate features. So if mode just means the mode is delivered in, spoken, you speak, written, you write. Or multimodal, you combine modes. What I'd like you to do now, how are we going for time? Are we happy just to have a quick discussion? Choose one of these. Which one grabs you? I get really super excited about 3, 4 and 5. Love 3, 4 and 5. And they are in one criteria called knowledge application. I just love them. So which of those objectives you really connect with and love? How would you explain that objective to students? Because you are marking students on this. So it's only fair and right that they understand what each of these objectives means. 5 minutes, talk.
You can grab that from any text that is not, well actually you could do like our time frame, but you can look like to context from different contexts. So the example of the cigarette, compare that to that for you can really dissect the cultural assumptions.
Or you could even do it at the same time and see how, let's talk about how one's ahead of its time. So if you by comparing to like that word like publish or
Which objective are you talking about? 4. Oh, yep, 4. Yeah.
I know that they're doing like presentation or whatever, but they were looking at, they would pick a specific attitude. So, for example, one was how they position females in ads, and they were looking at it current, like present, and they were looking at all of the ads that they had, and why it would be like females in Hugo Boss ads would have no clothes on, and like what
drives that?
Yeah, what the attitude is behind that, what value they're putting on women, and that kind of stuff as well.
That's a lot of pressure, isn't it? The women have to be smart, look beautiful, be sexy. That's a cultural.
No, but not too much.
I literally watched the video this morning.
Especially if you have a baby, definitely no.
So there are rules even around that. What do we value as a society? Which students love talking about generally. They really get into that.
It was actually a young gentleman who had come into the drama classroom and was talking about it to my supervising teacher, and he was so into it. And like I was like, surely that's not an ad. He's like, it's the current ad right now. Like he was so into it.
Maybe have a look at some of the other objectives. We'll come back to you. Which objective are you thinking about that you really like or
We
resonate?
had two different ones. Ricky hasn't said hers yet. You like the same one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Number 6.
Why do you like number 6?
Because the way that I kind of see it is like almost as if you were fighting a case in court. You know, you've kind of got your belief or the thing that you think about a text, and it's like, okay, well now you've got to back up by finding the evidence within the text, as a lawyer would when defending his client. And then you kind of got to put it all together to create or back up your argument.
It's like a way of giving whatever you're writing substance, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you can't just like, I like it. Why? Because that doesn't. You have to like explain why, and use evidence from the text to back it up.
And that's something that some students actually forget to do, and they need to be trained to do that and reminded to do that, because you can sprout off about your opinion as long as you want, but if you don't,
Your opinion, if you don't have anything to back it up, exactly.
and that exactly.
It's relevant to you, obviously,
But that's what gives something weight, and that's what's convincing to others is using evidence from the text, and it also shows an ability to analyse. You know, it's really important. So did you say 5?
We like
And
5.
and why did you say 5?
I just think that aesthetic features and stylistic devices are super important. They give it that kind of like, I think it embellishes a story, or I don't know, I just feel like it keeps the reader interested as well. And even if it draws you in, and even if it's not novels, pieces of literature, it can be in movies, and because if you think about stylistic devices in movies, you've got like your colour palette, and then we kind of talked about how Shin was listed as black and white, but it's got the red coats, and how that's supposed to make an audience feel, and rather than saying anything. So I don't know, I guess maybe coming from a creative industries background, I just really enjoy that.
You said a very important word there, and it started with F, feel.
Yeah.
I think aesthetic features really tug on our heartstrings. They're the greatest manipulators of all, because they connect on so many levels, not just auditory, but very deep.
Like, it's interesting because they can also be something that pushes people away. For me personally, I can't handle it when writers are super descriptive, when it's like too much. Yeah, describing that leaf on that tree for 5 pages, I'm just like,
I agree.
So it's interesting how also kind of subjective it is, because it depends on the reader or the viewer and how they allow themselves to be drawn in or not, and if that's something that appeals to them or not. It's not something that across the board is like, oh, that's awesome for everyone.
And that's something you find yourself teaching students, like when you're first introducing students to adjectives, they'll throw them everywhere. And then and that's okay, because that's part of the learning cycle. And then you say, okay, so we went from using none, now we're using them everywhere. Let's go back to the perfect amount, the sweet spot. So, which objectives?
We looking at objective 6, select and synthesize subject matter to support perspectives.
Because?
Because we just picked it off the list.
Yeah.
And
You think it's important because?
I think it's sort of a nice sort of bridging objective, if you like, which sort of takes some of these broader knowledge application ones in terms of themes, ideas, concepts, and at the same time you need the selecting and synthesizing is actually asking students to incorporate those textual features components,
Yes.
because that's what they're needing to use to sort of then support their perspective, you know. And of course it's also one of those ones that will work well across the creative and the analytical bridge.
Absolutely, and it's actually ties into that ability to think logically and clearly as well.
You've heard the aphorism, to make a long story short,
Yes.
that's a way of doing it and deciding on what is needed to tell the story effectively and
Yep.
what to leave out, which
Short,
is
sharp,
interesting but
punchy.
extraneous.
Yeah.
To convey a message which is succinct and to the point,
Yep.
and contains everything that needs to be contained, that the person fully understands what you're trying to communicate.
The power of communication. I agree. Okay. Well, I thoroughly. Oh, ladies, I didn't get to you. Well, okay, so for the ladies over there, their objective was 5. They really were passionate about that. And objective 6. I didn't forget you. Objective 6. Here we had objective 6, which was interesting as well. And you guys, you were 3, weren't you? 4. That's like cultural assumptions, the PowerPoint, the ad. Yes, yes. And you guys, 4. 4 and 6. So out of 11 objectives, we've got this really interesting passion or commitment to 4, 5, 6. Did I unintentionally channel you a particular way? No? Perhaps.
It gets darker down lower as well, which makes it a little bit harder to read.
There are like 3 and
So I basically stopped at 6. From there on I at all.
Bad colour choice, Lisa. And I know that. I haven't fixed it. It looks really nice on the screen.
Oh, it will. I can when I
Not
pull
that
it up.
screen.
It'll look very scary.
Okay. So they're your objectives. Know them, love them. Get to know them, be intimate with them. Because they are the starting point and the end point. Now this is the essential English syllabus. And do you know what I did? This is how weird I am. I went and got all the objectives in the essential English syllabus and I dropped them into a Wordle. I've got to see what the words are. And look at that. Look at those words. I could make a sentence out of those words. Ta-da! Oh my gosh, drum roll please, come on. That's awesome! That's, I suppose, taking us back to the value continuum at the start of the workshops. Is this idea that audience and purpose matter and we change our language according to that. If I'm talking to mum, it's very different to if I'm talking to my husband, or if I'm talking to the Queen versus if I'm talking to a colleague at work. Your students will speak very differently in the playground, I hope, to the way they speak in class. That may not always be the case, I suppose, but because there's not always a recognition or respect for context and authority and those sorts of things, but an awareness of. So that was like a moment of glory for me. I thought the syllabus writers nailed it. And this is the backward mapping. And we have talked about it because it threads through everything that we really do. I know it's a lot of information on the one slide and that's really poor practice. But if you just down here, what does the assessment instrument assess? Because you're going to be doing that for an assessment instrument and then you're going to mark the student response for that task. Know the objectives being assessed. I will say that till I can't breathe anymore. Know the subject matter. I haven't shown you that in the syllabus yet because it was kind of one of the last things that I really found myself drawn to, which is not a good thing. But the objectives are everything. Subject matter is really important, but the objectives, I think, are even more important. My colleagues would probably argue with me, but you know. What underpinning factors are relevant? Literacy, numeracy. We're going to be honest and admit that we're probably not going to spend a whole heap of time on numeracy, but we expect maths people to do literacy, so you know. Set learning goals, sequence learning. We also talked about 21st century skills, and we talked about the need for getting students ready for the senior phase of learning, and we do that by trickling curriculum and teaching all the way down. And a simple example was conditions, get students understanding that 500 words is 500 words, it's not 800 words. And you plan your lessons, you devise your instruction, and this is vital. And I can already see with the conversations I've had with you guys is that there's a real respect for this, and I know that because of the questions you're asking about the EAL syllabus. That to me indicated that you're acutely aware of different students' needs. And that should always be in your lesson plans. So targeted lessons, explicit teaching, cognitive verbs, we analysed, explain, and well, we analysed. Content knowledge and skills and cognitive verbs are related. Give students lots of opportunities. Now this is an interesting scenario, and I know you're getting tired and fed up and you probably really want to go, and that's fair. You're going to come back next week? Who's coming back next week? Okay, you just made a promise. I want you to read the scenario to yourselves, because this happened to me. Can you tell me which objective it is? Open up your syllabus. Yeah. Which objective is it? Predominantly. Five? Can you read out the bolded line for objective 5?
Use aesthetic features and stylistic devices to achieve purposes and analyse their effects in text.
Correct. And analyse their effects in text. That's objective 5. Right there. Which internal assessment is it? If it's unit 4, topic 2. It's the very last one, so it's the EA. EA. Now, just before you go, this is the scaffold I created, and it's now on the QCAA portal. And evidence from the stimulus, so the large metal claws are open with the snap before seizing the leafy palm tree in their steely grip. We know it's a metaphor. How does the aesthetic feature shape the perspective? Because this is the essential English syllabus, I'll let you read it. But you can see very clear language coming in here. And the other part of the objective. So objective 5 in essential English is exactly that, which is similar to the English one. It's about positioning the audience, and it's about the effect and how it shapes the perspective. So if you were going to actually do this with a student, yes, go.
Sorry, I was just going to ask if this PowerPoint is going to be put up on Blackboard.
Yes, I generally put them up on Edmodo.
Ah, well,
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Use Edmodo.
Yeah. Okay.
But yes, definitely.
Great.
So, what would you do? You'd explore the poem, you'd probably examine the title and the key parts of the poem to review the meaning. You'd experiment with the sounds in the poem. You might get students to sit there with their eyes closed and you might read it, or there are so many YouTube clips out there now with music and someone's voiceover. What mood is created? And you would revise aesthetic features like sibilance. Who knows what sibilance is? Yep. Who knows what asyndeton is? Allegory? Metaphor? your essential English students, but you're going to try, see if they get it. Students choose 3 of those and write their own about the poem's topic. That's what we're doing, we're revising, we're saying to students, this is what analyse is, this is what you're going to be doing. Show students the table, this is analysing, you can see how it's broken down into very clear, distinctive parts. And it's amazing what students will think of if you give it to them in small chunks. How does it shape a perspective and how does it position the audience? What emotions are being aroused? Deconstruct. Then you'd get students to actually do something with it. You wouldn't stop there. I know a lot of teachers who stop there, they think, oh, they've got it now. But you need evidence that the students have got it. Write a sentence analysing one stanza in a Google Doc. I did a Google Doc with my students last year and we did it on Heart of Darkness and it was really good. I'm hoping I have time to do something like that with you guys. The I do model, and then of course another stanza but a different one, the we do model. Write a sentence analysing a different stanza in Google Doc independently, the you do model. I do, we do, you do. Nice with scaffolders while I'm writing it down. Done that? Done that? And of course prescribed text. So you're free to go. Are there any questions? Anything? Next week we're going to be drilling even deeper down into those objectives, even more, and touching on the marking guides. Well, no. Hang on.